You may be curious as to how God can change your life. You may be questioning if your relationship with God is genuine. He will be the number one thing in your life. There's so many different relationships that you can have here on earth, like with your partner, with your parents, with your children, with friends. Like, relationships are everywhere. But at the end of the day, the main thing that God wants is for him to be the number one relationship in your life. And when you do that, everything else kind of just falls into place exactly the way it needs to. You'll receive fulfillment in your other relationships when God is your number one relationship. I see a lot of people who want to start over in life. They move to a whole brand new city and they're like, this is my new start. And I find that really interesting because it's like you kind of take yourself outside of the space, outside of the environment that you're in, to go to a new one in hopes that that'll kind of resemble a brand new start. A lot of people look at pursuing a relationship with God as removing yourself from the space, removing yourself from the environment that you're in, when really it's not about that at all. God will come exactly where you are and change you right where you are, and then change your environment and your space as well. God will never take you out of where you are right now. Internally, your desires and your habits will change, and you'll become a whole brand new person. What you once sought after, what you once pursued, just no longer is enticing to you. And the things that before you found mundane are now things that you reach for, things that you kind of almost need in a sense. I used to kind of struggle with reading my Bible. I used to, and sometimes even when I go to church and the pastor's giving a message, sometimes I just wouldn't be in it. Sometimes I would, but sometimes I really wouldn't be in it. But the thing I really struggled with was kind of opening my Bible and just kind of find that engaging. It was very hard for me. And for that reason, I never really kind of truly consistently studied the Bible and studied the Word. But then once I really started to truly walk with God, really started to truly understand Him, and really started to truly love and feel that love as well, my desire for Him completely just changed naturally. All of a sudden now, all I want to do in my free time is just read up on the Bible. All I want to do is kind of study His Word. All I want to do is do devotion. All I want to do is kind of pray. And it just kind of just came out of nowhere and just kind of started just naturally taking over me. A really cool thing is that it replaces the old desires that you had as well, the negative ones especially. If you struggled with lust, if you struggled with addiction or any personal desire, that all just kind of goes away once you put God as the number one thing in your life. I remember in my, for me personally, I was really set on pursuing my career. And in that pursuit, it really took me away from where I was, my environment and my space. And that really damaged my relationships. And now that I'm now walking with God truly, I no longer have that strong desire, that strong pursuit that would take me out of that space anymore. It's kind of your priorities kind of change around. And now I want to prioritize the relationships that I have. I have a stronger desire to be closer to my friends and family and just not neglect them for my own pursuits, neglect them for my own desires. It just kind of really shifts your priorities and your habits. And now the number one thing that I'm pursuing now is God, and then everything else is just kind of under that umbrella, and it all just fits perfectly. I never feel during my pursuit of God that I'm being taken out of my environment, taken out of my space, and neglecting anything behind. Now that I'm in this divine relationship, everything else just kind of falls into place, and it's really beautiful to kind of witness all of this happen. A relationship with God will not take you away from where you are, your environment or your space. It will transform that environment and space by transforming you within, and then it'll transform the external factors. It'll transform your environment, it'll transform your space into this new change that has happened within you. I recognize this because for pretty much my whole life, I was under the impression that I did have a relationship with God. I've known God all my life. I've went to church all my life, but I never truly had a relationship. When I was 17, I got baptized, and that was kind of when I was oh, this is when I'm giving my life to God. But truly, I never really had a walk with God. I was not spiritually mature enough to make that decision. It's not about age. I'm I'm not saying like at 17 you won't like, reach that spiritual maturity. It's different for everybody, but definitely at that time I really wasn't there. And for the longest time, up until very recently, I thought that I did have like a relationship with God truly, but I really didn't. It was very like, I guess, like, I wouldn't even say on and off, because the on would not be consistent enough for me to consider it on. Looking back at like growing up Christian and growing up in the church, it's kind of like, oh, of course I'm Christian, I identify as this, but truly I didn't have that walk with God like I do now. You will experience a change. You will experience that internal change, and you will see it also externally as well. I've been like living in like isolation for the past like 2-3 months. I'm kind of exaggerating it, but I've really alienated myself, and I'm off social media. I haven't like really hung out with friends as of recent. I've just been kind of like in a season of just renewal and transition. And I know that once I kind of like get back into it, it's going to be like very, I guess, different. The scary part about a walk with God is you'll probably lose a couple of friends in the process. God's love does not chase anyone away. Ultimately, it's going to be kind of someone's decision to walk out. But the really beautiful part is that you'll kind of really get to see the genuine friendships that you have, the genuine relationships that you have, because there will be people who love you and there will be people who appreciate you still. It's going to be so amazing getting the opportunity to share like, God's love with them and to share like this new version. And that makes me pretty happy, because I know that there will be so many people that will be blessed, because I know that I will have so many relationships that will be nurtured, that will grow because of this newfound love that I have. And because of like the love that's within you, there will be people that gravitate towards you. You'll meet so many new people, and your environment, your space will change for the better. A really like random thing that kind of popped into my head is that question whenever like, you've probably heard this question where like someone asks you like, where do you see yourself in like 5 to 10 years? And likely your answer is like, oh, I see myself like very successful. I see myself with like lots of money, lots of this, and you list out all these things that you like will have in like 5 to 10 years. But you will like, rarely do you ever see anyone like tell you about who they will be in 5 to 10 years. They'll just kind of tell you what they have. And if you ask like multiple like successful people, like, what did it take? What did you do to get here? The answer will always be so different. But there's one thing that they will all like tell you, is that who I am today is not the same person I was 5 to 10 years ago. Something internally, something within them had to change in order for them to really achieve the success that they have, in order for them to like start working towards where they are right now. Like they'll tell you like they don't even like recognize like who they were like 5-10 years ago, because that's how drastic of an internal change that it takes to really change the external, really change your space, really change your environment. In that same sense, a relationship with God will change you and also your environment and your space. So internally, that change happens first, and then everything else kind of falls into place. Again, a relationship with God will never take you out of where you are. Like you will never like have to pursue or have to chase God. A simple small like gesture, like God will meet you exactly where you are. You reach out to him, you take a step towards him, he'll like sprint towards you. In the same way that, a super successful person will not be able to like look back and recognize who they were 5 to 10 years ago, you in this walk with God, you will not be able to like look back and recognize who you were before you had God in your life. I'm not here to show you how to go from like point A to point B, or like go from like not having a relationship with God to having a relationship with God. I'm just kind of here to show you what having that relationship will look like. This right here, going from point A to B, it looks different for everybody. There's different catalysts, different things that happen in your life that will bring you to God. And sometimes God will place you like in very, very like troubling times, very, very like hard times. And I lost a person who means a lot to me, a person who I love. I felt very empty. I felt very alone. And God will sometimes set you up and place you in a position where it's just you and him so that you can really seek him. Like I'm super stubborn. So it really did take God like putting me in a very uncomfortable situation, putting me in a very tough situation to really get me to like pursue him, really get me to like start that walk with him. Sometimes it takes a breakdown in order for you to get your breakthrough. But again, yeah, each person is different. Each walk with God is not going to look the same. And that's the beautiful part about it.